story takes place in the turbulent Dream Beast continent. Half of it is ruled by giant dream beasts, living in their nest called the chaotic dream beast realm. The other half belongs to humans, where civilization has grown. Here, everything from dream beasts becomes a resource, letting people live almost dreamlike lives. We then meet a silver-haired boy getting punched. His name is Hertz, our main character. Bullies beat him up for keeping food to himself instead of sharing. He argued it was for his adventure and refused to hand it over. One bully stepped on his head, calling him stubborn, and ordered the others to keep hitting him. Hertz clawed the ground in anger. He threw dirt into their eyes, blinding them. Then he punched the bully who stepped on him, shouting that there was nothing wrong with wanting an adventure. He told them they had no right to laugh at him. When he finished with that bully, he asked the others if they wanted to fight too. They panicked and ran away. Afterwards, he reached for his bag, but an old man grabbed it first. Looking inside, the man found rope, hooks, and food. He realized Hertz was preparing for a survival adventure at such a young age. Hertz demanded his bag back. The old man returned it and asked why he wanted to go on a survival trip. Hertz said the outside world seemed simple, unlike the troublesome place they lived in now. The man chuckled and told him running away wouldn't solve everything. He patted Hertz's head and offered to teach him an easy way to deal with people, as well as survival basics. He asked if Hertz was interested. Hertz thought about it and said he wanted to explore secret places all over the world. He asked if the man could teach him that too. The old man said yes, and told him that if he became a dream beast hunter, all his wishes could come true. Hertz grew curious about what a dream beast hunter was. The old man explained that ever since humanity's beginning, people had explored the planet. Dream beasts were mysterious creatures tied to human life. Thanks to them, humans had food and resources. He also explained that mysterious secret realms had appeared, and dream beast hunters were those who sought out rare dream beasts in those realms. It was a respected and admired profession, one that allowed a person to explore the whole world. The old man then asked the boy what he thought. Extending his hand, he invited Hertz to become a dream beast hunter and travel the world with him. Hertz's eyes lit up with excitement. He grabbed the man's hand and agreed. 10 years later. In a gourmet district restaurant, a large man in fine clothes caused a scene. He grabbed a waiter by the collar, shouting that he was being served trash and threatening to kill him. Terrified, the waiter begged for forgiveness. He explained that the magma lobster was the restaurant's finest dish. The red-haired man didn't listen. He slammed the waiter's head against the wall, as if talking to him was an insult. This man was Lord Hardy of Snowhawk. A woman then appeared. She agreed that magma lobster was indeed a rare ingredient, but said that if it wasn't cooked properly, it went to waste. She offered to show him how it should be prepared, promising him an unforgettable magma lobster. She told them to watch. First, she used a chilled knife to take out the lobster's meat. Next, she used oil extracted from its shell to draw out the flavor. Finally, she paired it with noodles made from low-grade phantom beasts. She served the crystal noodles with the magma lobster. Hardy stared at the dish. He gulped down the dish and chewed slowly. Then he dropped the plate, declaring that power was surging through his body. As expected from the youngest grade 2 chef in the human realm, her dream beast cuisine had made him stronger. She explained that the power within dream beasts could enhance the body. If he brought her more ingredients, she could make him even stronger with her cooking. Hardy then asked her to become his partner, promising her a good life if he rose in rank. She told him she'd think about it. In truth, she was looking for Hertz, who had promised to infiltrate Snowhawk first while she followed later. She had no idea what he was up to, but she swore to bring it up when they met again. Meanwhile, in the underground beast arena, the crowd roared. Some cheered for number 4, others shouted for number 10. Hardy brought the chef to his private underground arena. He told her that if there was any beast she wanted, he'd give it to her. They relaxed on a sofa, watching the fight on a large screen. Hardy added that winners could have anything: money, women, or even power. He promised the champion whatever they desired. To her, he promised everything as long as she stayed his personal cook. She thanked him and said she'd consider it carefully. The host then welcomed everyone to the long-awaited battle and introduced the stars of the night. The first was the Dark Sovereign from the Dream Beast Realm's rainforest, a shadow panther. Certified ultra-dangerous by the Federation, it was a deadly predator that had claimed countless lives, striking unseen in the night. The second was the mysterious Dream Beast Hunter on a 12-win streak. They called him Number 11. A guard opened his cage and told him it was his turn. Inside, a silver-haired man stirred, annoyed that he had been woken from his first decent sleep in a while. This Dream Beast Hunter was named Hertzky. The guard who opened the cage was terrified of him. After unlocking it, he ran off, quickly telling Hertzky that he had 5 minutes to prepare. Hertzky wondered if he really looked that scary. He stepped out of the cage. Passing by another cell, he asked the prisoner if they had been caught and thrown in here too, then asked if they wanted out. The man's eyes lit up with hope. He begged to be freed, saying he'd do anything. Soon the others inside began shouting that they wanted out as well. Hertzky told them to leave it to him. He'd get everyone out. He ordered them to step back. Then he kicked the bars. The prisoners were stunned. They couldn't believe the bars had shattered, flexing his muscles. He snapped the chains binding his body. Now free, it was time to go wild. He walked straight toward the center of the arena. Hardy, watching, saw how Hertzky destroyed a reinforced cell with a single kick. Hardy was amused. He snapped his fingers, signaling his subordinate to stir up the crowd. The host grabbed the microphone and announced the arrival of the mysterious Dream Beast Hunter, asking if he would extend his streak to 13 wins. Hertzky looked up at him with a cold gaze. Then he gave the possibility that the Shadow Panther, the dark sovereign dream beast of the rainforest, would satisfy its hunger. The battle soon began. The tiger leapt out of the cage. Hertzky took a step. He anticipated its attack. He stopped its paws using his bare hands. Then he gripped tightly and made it swirl in the air. After that, he threw it on the ground. Our MC approached it. He finds it strange because the size and the power don't match. He would describe it as someone who's never been in the wild. The host was surprised that he took it down in one hit. He defeated the Shadow Panther in just one strike, which makes it 13 consecutive wins. The crowd was amazed. Hardy finds him interesting and ordered to open the window because he wanted to talk to him. The female then offered to prepare a meal for him. She promised to make something to suit his palate. And then left. She was annoyed and surprised that Hertz infiltrated the underground beast arena. She knew the place would get chaotic, so she decided to gather evidence while she could. Hardy was impressed with his 13 consecutive wins. Then he offered to make him his subordinate. Because of that, he promised to get him out of there. Hertz replied that he couldn't ask for more. Then he informed him that he actually doesn't want to get out. He had one thing to say to them. Hardy asked what it was. He jumped on the floor where the host was. Then he grabbed the mic. Hertz shouted into the mic that the Federation banned underground beast arenas and that using rare dream beasts in private fights was forbidden. He declared that everything happening there was illegal. He said this place shouldn't even exist. The crowd only laughed at him, calling him crazy. That enraged Hardy. He ordered his men to release the Beast Kings and turn Hertz into minced meat. The gates rose, and the host froze in fear. Hertz handed back the mic and told the host to keep doing his job. From the gates came the ultra-dangerous black bear, the eight-eyed ape, and a quagga. Ferocious creatures feared even in the dream beast realm. No challenger had ever survived against them. Hertz smirked at the host's explanation. Then he stepped down into the arena. The host shouted about how amazing it was for him to return to the field. Everyone wondered how he would take on 3 Beast Kings at once. The gamblers in the crowd grew anxious. They didn't want their golden goose to die. The black bear saw him first. It charged. Hertz seized the chance, ran up to its arm, and struck. His blow made the black bear stagger into the eight-eyed ape. The ape grew furious. It turned on the bear. Hertz took his chance and ran. The gigantic ape leapt and tackled the black bear to the ground. Now Hertz faced his next opponent, the quagga, a rare and ferocious beast, rarely seen. He cracked his fists and grinned. This is going to be wild. Hertz declared that rare dream beasts belonged in sanctuaries. He asked the quagga why it was there, serving humans and killing for them. The host praised Hertz's skill, reminding the crowd that he had already forced a double knockout earlier. Now, facing the ferocious quagga, everyone waited to see what would happen. The quagga charged. Its strike shattered the ground. Then it bit down. Number 11, Hertz, was swallowed in a single gulp. The host shouted in shock, calling the quagga a terrifying beast king. The crowd groaned in disappointment. They thought Hertz had some hidden trump card, but instead it seemed over too soon. They complained, saying it was lame and nothing like the dazzling moves from earlier. But then the host noticed something. He announced that number 11 hadn't lost yet. Hertz was still alive, clinging to the quagga's hair. The crowd erupted in cheers, excited that he was living up to their hopes. To them, he was more than just an average fighter. But Hertz knew it was only because of their bets. He ignored their noise and focused on the quagga. He kicked its face. Then he clenched his fist and unleashed a devastating punch. The blow sent the quagga crashing into the ground. The impact split the floor. The Beast King lay unconscious, a massive bump swelling on its forehead. Just a few seconds later, the eight-eyed ape lunged at Hertz. He immediately grabbed the quagga and used it as a shield. Glancing around, he saw the black bear already down, most likely beaten by the ape earlier. The ape swung another punch. Hertz caught its arm, realizing Hardy was getting bored. He hoisted the ape up and hurled it in Hardy's direction. Hardy's men panicked and shouted for him to run, but Hardy just stood there, irritated that raising this scum was a waste. The ape smashed through the wall. Hardy's eyes burned with fury. He seized the ape, roaring that he had been quiet for too long, and people had forgotten how terrifying he truly was. He asked Hertz if he had any idea how he managed to build an underground arena of this size. Then, he flung the ape back at him. Hertz leapt backward, dodging it with ease. A grin spread on his face. Hardy was finally showing his true self. Hardy shouted at the guards, demanding to know what they were doing. They poured out of the gates and surrounded Hertz. The crowd roared in excitement, recognizing Hardy's legendary battle unit. Rumor said every single one of them was monstrously strong. Hardy vowed to kill Hertz, claiming his ignorance would be his downfall. Hertz, deep inside, only saw them as a nuisance. Then, out of nowhere, someone smashed a guard with a brick. The men Hertz had freed rushed in to help him. He hadn't expected it. They told him that by freeing them, he had given them a new life. They asked him to leave the guards to them. As the riot spread, the crowd panicked and fled the arena. Many mocked Hardy, saying he couldn't even control his own slaves, yet called himself the king of the underground. To them, the place was no longer safe. Hardy roared that he wanted them all dead. Hertz replied that they should at least go out with a bang. He charged forward and slammed his fist into Hardy's chest. Hardy didn't even flinch. Instead, he grinned, then kneed Hertz hard in the stomach. Blood burst from Hertz's mouth as he flew into the wall. Hardy scowled at him, calling him a brat. He promised to use Hertz's corpse to reclaim his throne as underground king. Then he charged. But before his fist could land, Hertz's foot smashed into his face. Hertz wasn't going down so easily. Hardy froze for a moment. He noticed something odd about Hertz's movements. The next second, he slammed Hertz to the floor. Hardy sneered that Hertz knew nothing about him. Hertz's body crashed several floors down. Hardy mocked him, asking if that was all he had. Hertz coughed up blood and called him a monster. He admitted that no matter what he tried, he didn't think he could win. Then he noticed something behind him, a strange liquid. Hardy descended to finish him off, but when he looked, Hertz was gone. Thinking he had vanished, Hardy lowered his guard. That's when Hertz reappeared and struck him with a powerful punch. Hardy was sent flying across the room. Hertz smirked, realizing the truth. Hardy's defense wasn't actually that strong at all. Hardy couldn't believe Hertz had broken through his defense. It wasn't really a defense at all, just a cheap trick. He secreted fat the moment he was struck, using it to deflect the impact. Once Hertz figured that out, he came up with a counter. The first hit would shake Hardy's body and spray off the oil. The second hit, aimed at the same spot, would land clean without being deflected. Hardy refused to accept defeat at the hands of someone like him. So he used his last resort. He ran. For someone his size, he was surprisingly fast. Hertz gave chase. Hardy shouted back, telling him to stay away. Meanwhile, the female chef sat quietly in another room. She was spying. The head chef barked at the kitchen staff to perfect Lord Hardy's dinner, or else their lives would be on the line. Suddenly, she barged in and announced that Hardy had called them all trash, so she would be taking over. The chefs bristled with anger. She went on, mocking their cooking before introducing herself as a second-class chef, the youngest ever to earn the title. That only made the chefs angrier, telling her not to get too cocky. But she asked them if they were fine with Hardy's meal being delayed. At that, their confidence cracked, and they stepped aside. She used the chance to investigate. The chairman had asked her to gather evidence, but inside the beast arena, it had been nearly impossible to find anything. She scrutinized the kitchen. Nothing stood out. No rare dream beasts were being used as ingredients. As she wondered what to do next, she noticed something odd. Water dripped down the side of the oven. Puzzled by how droplets could form inside, she checked more closely. Then it clicked. There was a hidden space behind the shelf. She pushed it aside and uncovered a concealed door. It was locked, but that wouldn't stop her. She picked the lock easily. Surprised they used such an old, flimsy mechanism. What were they hiding behind something so poorly guarded? Inside, she froze. A rare dream beast was trapped in a cage. It was called Sad Baku. She rushed over, horrified. It looked as if they were trying to drive the species to extinction. Her chest sank when she realized the truth. The sad Baku was already dead. Her sadness quickly turned into anger. She wondered what people like them even saw dream beasts as. She apologized to the creature for being too late to save it. She swore to avenge the sad Baku and promised that every illegal hunter would face justice. With this evidence secured, she hurried off to report to the chairman. Suddenly, a chopping knife whizzed past her. A man appeared, curly white hair, a suit jacket paired with casual bottoms, standing on a scooter. He had realized she had discovered the sealed room. Because of that, he couldn't allow her to leave alive. She asked who he was, explaining that she was only preparing Hardy's dinner. The man introduced himself as Ding Dong, Hardy's head chef. His voice dripped with anger. Because of her, Hardy had stopped eating his food. She calmly replied that maybe his cooking was simply bad. Ding Dong snapped, saying that was impossible. He pulled out a large slab of raw meat and uncorked a bottle. It was sad Baku belly meat, marinated in his special sauce. He sneered that there was no way it could taste bad. She was horrified at the sight. She argued there was something deeply wrong with what he was doing. But Ding Dong ignored her. He raged that she had insulted his cooking and uncovered Hardy's secret. For that, she would not be leaving alive. His eyes gleamed as he added that she had good young meat on her. Marinated in his sauce, she'd taste even better than the sad Baku. Naturally, she refused and said her goodbyes. He lunged after her, intent on turning her into Hardy's next favorite dish. She dodged his knife, but her hat was sliced clean off. Ding Dong smirked, admitting she was quick for a chef. She shot back coldly. He wasn't a true chef. That left him confused. Her anger boiled over as she lectured him. A chef's hat, she said, was meant to keep hair out of the food. No matter the reason, knocking off someone's hat was unacceptable. She declared that anyone who disrespected the food or the customer was no chef at all. Then she revealed her weapon, a cannon-like shooter attached to her arm. She admitted she wasn't very strong on her own, but she had a powerful partner. The weapon was crafted from a dream beast her partner had entrusted to her. It fit her body perfectly, built to deliver lethal blows. Ding Dong froze. His knife clattered to the floor. He nervously said she could take over the cooking, even use any ingredients she wanted, but she glared at him and answered coldly. A person who disrespects ingredients could never be called a chef. Then she fired. Afterward, she examined the rare meat marinated in Ding Dong's special sauce. The crazy bastard laid there unconscious. She hated the thought of wasting the ingredient. Hesitant, she forced herself to taste it. The flavor was as awful as she expected. Absolutely disgusting. Yet she felt energy flowing into her body. That sauce, vile as it was, had strange properties worth studying. Suddenly, the ground rumbled beneath her feet. She stiffened, wondering what could have caused it. Hardy stormed into the kitchen, demanding his food. He froze when he saw the female chef. He shoved her aside and started eating with his bare hands. The chef's arm was hurt from the shove. Seeing Hardy up close, she noticed his wounds, then watched them begin to heal. Even stranger, Hardy started to slim down. She couldn't make sense of it. Hardy grumbled that the taste was terrible, but he could feel power coursing through him. He asked if she had made the dish. She only said she was glad it satisfied him. Hertz arrived, called her Rihanna, and asked if she'd found proof that Hardy was secretly using rare dream beasts. She whacked Hertz with a pan. His timing was awful. It was not the moment for questions. Turning to Hardy, she asked if he would believe her if she said she didn't know the man. Hardy grabbed the counter, furious at being mocked. He vowed to turn them into mincemeat. Hertz pointed out how furious Hardy was. Rihanna told Hertz to shut up and said they should run. Hardy hurled the counter at them, reminding everyone of his rampaging past, and swore he'd kill them as thanks. Rihanna dove for cover and ordered Hertz to protect her. But our MC just replied, "Yeah, probably can't." Hardy lunged to punch Hertz. Hertz blocked with his forearms, feeling how strong Hardy really was. Determined not to lose, Hertz kicked Hardy in the face. Hardy chuckled, grabbed Hertz's foot, and pulled him in to land a punch to the stomach. He compared Hertz's attack to a massage. Our MC wasn't offended and told him to be grateful, then kicked the shit out of this bastard's face with his other foot. Hertz finally broke free from Hardy's grip. Hardy sneered that he was all bite and no bark. Rihanna grew worried. Hardy was overwhelming Hertz, and she knew he couldn't win like this, so she decided to secretly make him a dream beast dish. But with Hardy present, she couldn't get into the sealed room. She stopped at an empty wall, summoned her black hammer, and smashed it. The wall finally cracked. Dust filled the air, making her cough. As she expected, the sad Baku was on the other side. She didn't want to use it as an ingredient, but there was no other choice. To her, the least she could do was make sure its death wasn't in vain, and she promised again to avenge it. She asked the beast to lend her its strength. Then she began to cook. She sliced the meat into thin cuts, seared them quickly over high heat, seasoned them with her special blend, and strained it. The dish was finally ready. Meanwhile, Hertz was thrown outside. He muttered that Hardy might be rotten, but he was still a former champion. Still, Hertz couldn't afford to lose here. Then a smell reached him. It made his mouth water. The aroma alone gave him energy. Rihanna appeared holding out the dish she had prepared. She hoped it would give him the strength to end Hardy in a single punch. Rihanna hurled the bottle toward Hertz, but someone else caught it. It was Hardy. Both of them knew that was bad. Hardy sniffed it, then decided to drink it himself. He downed the entire bottle, only to vomit it out immediately. It was freaking spicy. He screamed for water. Rihanna admitted she had expected this, so she'd spiked it with ultra-spicy chili peppers. Then she tossed the real one. This time, Hertz caught it. He uncorked the bottle and drank it in one go. After swallowing, he exclaimed how good it was. It was pure, concentrated meat juice, lighter even than vegetables. Hertz said it felt like all restraints had broken, like he was chasing after true freedom. In short, it was delicious beyond words. His muscles swelled, his dream power surged, climbing to stage 2. Now it was time to pay Hardy back for everything. Hardy chugged down water. He shouted in frustration, saying he had worked himself to the bone, yet his dream power still wouldn't rise to level 2. Why did Hertz get to achieve it so easily? Rihanna calmly noted that it was expected of the chairman's student to already be at level 2 at his age. Dream power had 3 stages. Level 1 gave a tough, unyielding body. At level 2, the body glowed gold and became dozens of times stronger than level 1. As for level 3, that was the stuff of legends. Hardy, unwilling to let go of everything he had built, hurled the water container at Hertz. Hertz crushed it barehanded. He told Hardy he didn't understand what hard work meant. Hardy hadn't fought in 10 years. He had sat back and watched from the sidelines, and none of that could be called working hard. Hardy snapped back that he could never level up, so he had no choice but to sink this low. He insisted Hertz would never understand. Hertz replied with something his master once said: dream power was a miraculous force. Someone who abandoned their dreams would never have a future. Then he asked Hardy, what was his dream? The question stunned him. A memory surfaced. He and his friend had once reached the border between the human realm and the dream beast realm, a place called Mammy Highlands. His friend was thrilled. Their shared dream was about to come true. Hardy's hands trembled as he called his friend's name, Vian. Then Hardy told him that this was as far as he would go. Vian was shocked. They had promised to find the rarest dream beast in the world and prove wrong all those who had looked down on them. But Hardy said the reason people looked down on them wasn't because they were weak. It was because they were born poor, with no backing. No matter what they did, no one would care. Even if they succeeded to others, they would still be losers. Vian argued that they didn't need anyone's approval. Exploring the world itself was amazing enough, but Hardy had had enough. To him, a dream was meaningless if it didn't bring success. Money and power. That was the only path forward. Vian felt sad watching him walk away. He didn't know if Hardy's path was right, but he was still determined to reach the top. He vowed to enter the dream beast realm and stand at its peak. That was how he would prove his worth. In truth, Hardy had chosen the path of power and money because he lacked the courage to step into the dream beast realm. Still, he was glad to have had a friend like Vian. He had rooted for Vian to carry their dreams for both of them. Back in the present, Hardy wept. He had given up everything and let himself be consumed by power and greed. He claimed it was the same for everyone, that no matter how hard someone without connections struggled, it would all be pointless. If that was the case, then he would rather chase power and cling to it with everything he had. Hertz answered that dream. Power was miraculous. Hardy would never level up because he had stopped believing in miracles. No amount of money or fine food could change that. Hardy shouted at him to shut up. He hurled fireballs, roaring that once Hertz was dead, being level 2 would mean nothing. Hertz sprinted, dodging the blasts. He ducked behind a boulder, but the fireballs melted right through it. He was shocked. Hardy was much stronger now than he had been only a minute ago. Hardy laughed, thanking him for helping unlock his strength. Then he unleashed a barrage of attacks, promising a grand cremation. That's when he noticed Rihanna sneaking away. Rihanna told him not to mind her. He nearly forgot about her, but since she knew his secret, there was no way he could let her live. Hardy hurled a fireball straight at her. She called for Kuro's help and summoned a black shield, but the flames melted right through it. She braced herself, praying Hertz would save her, and just in time, Hertz grabbed her and pulled her away. When she opened her eyes, he saw Hertz's face. She blushed. Then immediately strangled him for being late. Hardy, irritated, blasted more fire at them and shouted for them to stop flirting. Hertz didn't move. Rihanna panicked, urging him to dodge, but he calmly told her it would be fine. She demanded to know what he was doing. Without warning, Hertz tossed her into the air. She screamed curses at him as she tumbled far away. He muttered that he'd make it up to her later. Now his focus was fully on Hardy. In a single step, Hertz closed the distance between them. Hardy was stunned that he had slipped past the flames so easily. Hertz revealed that Biggie was not the only one who had gained new strength during their fight. "Our MC has a new move, Blast." He drove his fist into Hardy's gut. It was a destructive impact. That sent vibrations through Hardy's fat, tearing into his organs. Hardy admitted the blow landed, but smirked that he had one last secret. He beckoned Hertz closer, saying he'd reveal it. Hertz grew suspicious. It had to be a trap. Suddenly, something shot toward him. Steel slammed shut around his body. He cursed himself for falling for it. Hardy laughed, calling him an idiot. This was his turf. Of course there would be traps. He boasted that the cage was made from the bones of a swamp serpent. Not even a level 2 could break free. Hertz told Hardy to give up. Rihanna had already called the guard corps, and they would arrive any minute to seize the evidence. It wasn't too late if he surrendered. But Hardy only laughed. He knew no backup was coming. A sudden explosion thundered from a few blocks away. Hardy revealed he had planted bombs all around the Beast Arena. He was determined to kill everyone who knew his secret. Once Hertz was dead, no one would be left to expose his crimes. Hertz cursed at him and shouted he wouldn't let him get away. Summoning his strength, Hertz lifted the cage up from the ground. Even he was shocked. The floor beneath had been just ordinary stone. Hardy realized the contractors had cut corners during construction. Snarling, he launched fire and screamed for Hertz to die. But Hertz taunted him, saying that single flaw had broken his unbreakable cage. Hardy cursed him in rage. Then Hardy smirked, pointing out that Hertz might be able to defend himself, but not his little partner. At that moment, Rihanna was drifting on a balloon. Hardy fired at her first. Hertz leapt high, dragging the cage with him. He swung it beneath him and used it as a shield. The clash sent him crashing back down. Smoke filled the air, making them cough. When the dust cleared, Hertz was relieved to see Rihanna safe, though their position was more than a little awkward, with him holding her tightly in his legs. He asked if she was okay. Rihanna shot back sarcastically, "How am I okay?" Rihanna grumbled that she was sure one day Hertz would get her killed. Suddenly, a thunderous roar shook the air. A green tiger burst out and landed on a rooftop. It exhaled, its breath spreading across a wide area like a storm front. Rihanna's eyes widened. She recognized the beast. It was a tempest tiger, a creature that controlled storms. Hertz added that it was Biss's friend. Engines rumbled as several military trucks sped onto the scene. They have finally arrived. Hardy's face twisted in shock. He couldn't believe the beast was still alive. Hertz explained that he had told Biss about the arena ages ago. Biss must have pieced everything together and come to drag Hardy to his downfall. Hardy roared that as long as he lived, he would return. He swore he would never forget this and would come for revenge. He tried to flee. But Hertz stepped in his way. Hardy snarled at him. Hertz admitted he couldn't win outright, but he could stall him long enough. Hardy had committed too many crimes. It was time for him to pay. Hardy lashed out with furious attacks, but Hertz slipped away from each strike, even while carrying the cage. Desperate, Hardy tried bribing him, offering money, fame, women, everything. But Hertz refused to yield. He would never surrender for such empty things. The car screeched to a stop. Armed men spilled out, rushing forward and surrounding Hardy. The commander gave the order to fire. A net shot out, wrapping tightly around him. Hardy immediately realized he was in trouble. He struggled, trying to tear it apart. But to his shock, his hands bled against the threads. The commander told him to give up. The net was woven from the silk of a dream beast known as the silk worm. tougher than steel. Not even a giant dream beast could break free. This man is Biss, leader of the Guard Corps' gourmet unit. Rihanna stepped forward and reported that a sad Baku was inside, serving as evidence. Biss listened. The commander announced his charges: operating an underground beast arena, human trafficking, and the private use of rare dream beasts. A warrant was already in place for his arrest. Hardy screamed that it wasn't over, that once he escaped, he'd kill them all. After Hardy was taken away, Hertz called out to Biss, asking him to get him out of the cage. Rihanna said it was good he was locked up. That would keep Hertz quiet. Biss unsheathed his sword in answer. With a single slash, the cage shattered into pieces. Hertz was finally free. Biss praised them both, saying their infiltration of the arena had been a success. Thanks to them, Hardy's crimes were now exposed. Hertz clapped Biss on the shoulder, telling him not to worry. It was their master's request. He also noted that their master seemed to be investigating Hardy as well. Biss asked what exactly he was investigating. Hertz explained it was the Dream Beast supply chain. Rihanna was the one who first noticed something odd. While cooking, she realized the scent of the Dream Beast kept getting weaker and weaker. The ingredients didn't deliver their full effect. Their master had instructed them to dig deeper. Hertz followed the trail of food, which led him to Hardy. But the more he looked into it, the stranger it became. Rihanna cut in, confirming that Hardy had indeed acquired a large number of rare dream beasts in the past few months. But those dream beasts were far weaker than normal ones, so weak they could only fool clueless buyers in underground arenas. Aside from the sad Baku, all of them were fakes, and worse, Hardy wasn't even selling them. He was consuming them himself. So the question remained, where had those ingredients come from? It was as if they appeared out of thin air. Hertz asked if Hardy had connections. Biss said they'd been looking, but so far had no intel on who was supplying the beasts. However, he added there were two strange pieces of information that might be linked. Hertz asked about it. Biss explained that 6 months ago, the peace in the gourmet town was suddenly shattered. A ton of thugs just vanished. They went to investigate immediately, but the scene was a mess and there were beast claw marks everywhere. Hertz asked if it was a beast. He replied yes, because the analysis confirmed they belonged to a dream beast. They found remnants of some seriously powerful dream power. Hertz asked if the walls of Gourmet Town were breached and thugs were taken out by a dream beast. It's what Biss thinks, so he went to check on the steel ramparts that were built to keep dream beasts out, but they were completely untouched. Hertz also thinks it was strange. He was in a deep thought while they waited for his insights. He thought long and hard, but he got nothing. He complained that his brain was about to explode. Because of that, Rihanna called him an idiot. Someone then called Hardy. It was Rihanna. She acted cute and assumed that he knew the inside story. Being a prideful man, he got offended and asked her who she thinks he is. He told her that even if he knew, there's no way he'd tell her. He was surprised, though, because Biss pointed his sword at him while telling him not to waste their time. He asked him what he's planning to do and told him that if he kills him without an interrogation, it would be a violation of federal law. Biss replied that he doesn't have to say anything and he wouldn't break the law either. He was caught off guard as the Tempest Tiger approached. Biss subtly threatened him that being attacked by a dream beast during capture would be an unavoidable accident. He asked Hardy if that was right. He had no choice but to talk. He narrated that there was a day when he was sleeping and his window suddenly opened. A man in black clothes was standing there. The man told him he'd give him rare dream beasts, but he warned him not to tell a soul. The man killed Hardy's men in an instant and left him seriously injured. He had no choice but to do as he said. Biss asked what the man's goal was. He had no idea, because other than telling him to eat the dream beasts and use them in the beast arena, he didn't say anything else. Biss inquired on how the dream beasts were delivered. The man instructed him to collect them in the sewer. When he saw the mountain of rare dream beasts piled up, he knew he had no choice but to obey. There's no way he could stand up to someone who could take down that many rare dream beasts. Biss ordered his men to take him away. Hertz expressed that the more he finds out, the less he understands. He asked what the connection was. Biss explained that a guy appeared 6 months ago. He wouldn't say he came out of nowhere, but he did come out of the sewer. The guy was originally a normal guy, but along with dream power, he had an extraordinary talent for gambling and built an entertainment empire. And with the money he earned from gambling, he started a loan shark business. That guy might be their breakthrough. Hertz asked the guy's name. He revealed it was a gray, in another setting, at a casino. Several games were simultaneously played. The waitress wore a bunny suit. Someone then uttered "unbelievable" while staring at someone. Another person thinks the same. The man in question simply sipped his wine. Eventually, they concluded that the person in front of them wasn't a human. Instead, he's a god. It was the owner of the Nightless Castle, a Gray. He went all in. The person in front of him got overwhelmed. So, he asked him if he's not afraid of losing. It made a Gray laugh out loud. The idea of that was so funny to him. Then he became serious. He replied that the moment he sat down there, losing became an impossibility. He urged him to hurry up. The person in front of him was prideful and didn't want to lose either. He decided to cheat with his dream power, but to his surprise, his hand got shot. A Gray threw a card on his hand and cut his flesh. Then he told him that intentionally changing the roll of the dice was forbidden. That's common sense in gambling den. He ultimately broke the rules. Someone came and asked a Gray if he figured out the roll only by sound. It was our MC, and he challenged him for a game. A Gray looked suspicious. He asked if he's aware of what they're betting there. He showed him a scorpion dream beast, then a snake dream beast, and lastly, a spider dream beast. Those were the dream beasts that carry deadly poison. Once eaten, they stimulate the human body, and there's a certain chance one would acquire dream power. Though, there's also a chance that one would die. But if a professional chef prepares it, the mortality rate goes down a bit. And what they're betting on is who becomes food for the poison bugs. To him, betting money or things was boring. In the world of dream beasts, power was everything. And there, he could obtain that power. So if he could beat him at that table, his chef will put his heart and soul into making a poison bug dish. If he eats it and survives, he'd gain power, and he would officially become one of his subordinates. And the loser becomes food for the poison bugs. There's a 99% chance they'll die, but if they miraculously survive, they'll awaken to a new power. Even if they die, it was easier to dispose of them once the poison was gone. And when one person dies, the next person's odds of gaining power goes up. So, it's a win-win. Hertz simplified it to satisfying people's ambitions to get stronger by using the poison bugs. Then he cursed at him. A Gray stated that he's not breaking any laws. Then he asked him if he's in. If not, he should just get out. Hertz expressed that he was in. Then he sat down. He clarified that he's not interested in betting power. Instead, he would tell him about the power he got when he came out of that sewer. Then he asked him if he's in. A Gray took that as a challenge. Then he expressed that he couldn't stand a guy like him. He told him that people like him won't stand a chance against him in gambling. Then he let him choose the game. Hertz chose poker. He called a red-haired girl in a bunny suit and closed the deal. He was ready to see what he got, especially when he's that confident. Cards were laid out. A Gray waited for his move. Hertz placed his card. It was a pair of kings. A Gray commented that it wasn't bad at all. Our MC surprisingly went all in. A Gray was displeased that he went all in right off the bat. He asked him if he didn't know the rules. He replied that he doesn't know much about gambling, except for the longer it takes, the more pain it's going to be. That's why he'd settle it in one go. He baited him by saying that a god of gambling like him would surely take the bet. A Gray thinks he doesn't understand what happens when he loses. So he ordered his men to show him. His men dragged the cheating guy to the cage. They chained him outside the cage. The poor guy got scared when the stinger of the scorpion approached and stabbed his neck. The poison in his body became evident when his veins started popping out. The man groaned in pain. Hertz's eyes furrowed. He borrowed some knives from Raina's pocket and threw them quickly. The knives cut off the chain. Raina felt bad about her kitchen knives. Hertz left the rest to her. She replied that she'd kill him one day. She took out a vial from her chest and made the guy drink it. He was able to drink it without problems, and his health got restored instantly. He started coughing. The crowd watched intently. The guy was surprised and happy that he's alive. Hertz revealed that it was a concentrate made from the broth of the rare dream beast, the sad Baku, which neutralizes most poison. What's more is that it can even draw out a human's latent life potential. All they had to do was use up the dream beast's poison. Then Hertz turned to a Gray, saying that the poison's gone and the man's alive, and all those were within the rules. Agray agreed. But he commented that he's quite a spender for using such a rare item on nobody. He went all in too. Hertz had a pair of kings, and Agray had a pair of aces. The winner was a Gray. The crowd called him a god. Since the match was over, he told Hertz to be quiet and be the good little prey that he was. He told him that he's pretty entertaining, and he'd be sure to pick out a nice burial spot for him. Hertz scratched his head, and he took out a chip saying that he had one left. A Gray sneered, asking if he really planned to turn the tables with that. He told him to just give up and be eaten already. It would be easier that way. But our MC replied that he hadn't lost yet and dared a Gray to bring it on. He had 1 pair 10s while Agrey had 1 pair 8s. The winner was Hertz. Agrey uttered that he let him win once out of pity. In the next round, Agrey has 3 5s and Hertz has 3 6s. The winner was Hertz. In the next, Hertz had 3 kings, which made him win. But it wasn't over, he kept winning. The crowd realized that God was being cornered. Hertz commented that Lady Luck was on his side that day. Agrey yelled that it was impossible for him to be better than he was. He claimed that he was cheating. Hertz asked who was really the one cheating. He pointed out how the gambling den was covered in webs of his dream power. A normal person wouldn't be able to tell, but with that, he can hear the thoughts of everyone in there and influence their emotions. The crowd was surprised, and they got angry after learning that Agrey had a direct line to everyone's thoughts and actions. Basically, he wasn't a god of gambling, he's just manipulating everyone. Hertz branded him as the king of cheating. He thinks it was ridiculous. He claimed that he got where he was through his own skill. He claims that it was just baseless accusations. Hertz revealed that he purposely lost the first round just to figure out his method. After that, he used his own dream power to interfere with his senses so he couldn't gather information. That's the reason he lost. Since he claims it as baseless accusations, he challenged him to win. Agrey immediately ordered the doors shut. His men held swords while guarding the doors, and they looked hungry for a fight. Hertz teased him by asking if he snapped because he hit a nerve. He replied that he just realized something. That if everyone there dies, his secret won't get out. He could imagine that the headline tomorrow would be a fire in there, and the story would be complete with him as the sole survivor. Reyna asked Hertz if he could really win. He revealed that he had no pair that time, and Agrey just easily fell for his tricks. Reyna told him that it's not something he should be saying at the moment. Agrey was furious and broke the table. He threw the cards while yelling that he'd kill them all. The cards flew like blades. Reyna hid behind Hertz. She saw him bleeding and asked if he's okay. Hertz told her to take care of the small fry since he can handle that guy easily. She's fine with that, so she made a stretching snake triple shot. She was determined not to let them interfere. The guards were down in a single hit. They yelled that they can't deal with it. Hertz realized that Agrey hadn't trained his minions well enough. He replied that it doesn't matter and he'd kill him and the woman anyways. He evaded the punch. Then he threw cards at him. Hertz tried to evade it. Then he kicked him. He finds it strange that he dodged again. It was like he had been reading his move. Agrey suggested that Hertz was starting to get affected. It was slowly but surely, and he still got plenty of cards. He made him realize that he might not have enough blood to spare. Hertz told him that his cards don't work on him anymore. Agrey thought he was just acting tough, so he released more cards. It hit Hertz on the shoulder. Some of it scratched his arm. But he continued to rush forward. Agrey noticed that he clamped the cards between his muscles and used them like armor to block his attacks. It was such a monstrous combat sense. In a single moment, Hertz had figured out how to counter. He knew he had to retreat. He thinks that as long as he's alive, he can rebuild the Nightless Castle someday. But he was caught off guard when he tapped his shoulder from behind. Hertz knew he just saw right through his attack. He asked him if he saw that coming too. It ended up with Agrey being a bruised potato. Hertz asked Reyna if it was all over. She replied yes, and luckily, they were just all humans. She had them trapped in a net. Then she saw that he took some damage too, but he replied that he's fine. He claimed that it was just a scratch, then he hardened his muscles and the cards unexpectedly flew. Then he told Agrey that he did some research on him, and he never had power like that before. He threatened him to tell him everything that happened, otherwise he'd slice his blood vessels one by one using those cards. Agrey got scared and promised to tell him anything if he would spare him. He narrated that 6 months ago, he was a vagrant. Every day he was rummaging through trash cans looking for food. But one day, an amazing smell started wafting over. The moment he smelled it, he felt power surging through his body. He followed that smell, and it led him to the entrance of the sewer. It made him wonder why it would be coming from a place like that. But his body just moved on its own, so he went down into the sewer. And there he saw a sight he'll never forget for the rest of his life. Grease rats normally live off garbage. They're the lowest of the low among dream beasts. But at that moment, he learned how vicious they could be. They were using their teeth, claws, tails, anything to take down their enemies. Hertz asked why they would kill each other. He replied that they were fighting over something. He watched them, and saw that it was because of a single drop of blood. They seemed to be afraid of that blood, but at the same time, their bodies were drawn by it. He was shocked. But that's when he realized that he was drawn to that blood too. He stepped on them, and reached for it. He tried to drink it. He continued that the blood dripped into the sewer water. He still drank it and got out of there. Hertz asked him if it was the time he got the cards. He clarified if he's saying that his dream power awakened from a single drop of blood. He replied yes, and admitted that he never thought it would work out well. Hertz asked where he got the poison bugs. He replied that a guy in black robe gave them to him. He doesn't know anything more than that. Hertz thought about how it was a guy in a black robe again. Suddenly, Reyna, who was near the scorpion's cage, called him. He asked what it was. She took out her knife and spin it. She chopped the claw. It revealed a pinkish meat. Hertz liked the smell. He chomped on the meat and swallowed it. He claimed that it was delicious. It melts the moment it hits his tongue and it tasted like a poisoned scorpion. He elaborated that it was a little bitter, so it's not suited for regular cooking, but it's perfect as a training laxative. And that clicked to Reyna. She identified it as a poison scorpion. Hertz replied that poison scorpions were the kind of dream beasts that one would find in the sewer, and the ones they had were way too big. Reyna, as a chef, had to make an accurate judgment on every single ingredient. Poison scorpions were a bit bitter, but she sometimes used them as a seasoning. Also, the claws of a poison scorpion had a unique pattern, but that one was a little different. Hertz checked it and saw that she was right. It looked like a flower before it bloomed. It was a pattern that a poison scorpion should never have. Like the grease rat, the poison scorpion was a bottom-tier dream beast. She can't imagine them crossbreeding with a high-tier dream beast, so she can only conclude that it was an artificially crafted beast. Agrey informed them that the smell was similar to the one he smelled in the sewer. Hertz intimidated him while asking if he's certain. He replied that it was true. Reyna realized that there's a big secret in the town's sewer, so they had to investigate. Agrey asked if they would free him then, but he got hanged along with his men. He complained that Hertz promised to set him free. Hertz replied yes, and it means that he won't, and he decided to leave the rest to Biss. Reyna told him that they had to get going and report back to the chairman, and she reminded him that he promised to take her hunting for rare ingredients in the dream beast world. The two then went to the infamous sewer. Hertz noticed that there were fewer creatures than normal, and the water was clean too. She also finds it strange. If Agrey's story was true, it is where the grease rats were killing each other, but they haven't seen any of it. Then they heard some sounds. Reyna got scared because he might suggest going in there. She claims that a chef has no business entering such an unhygienic place. Hertz told her to wait there while he went in. He opened the door. The path was too narrow, but eventually saw a light. His eyes widened in shock as he wondered what that place was. He came across a waterfall. Not long after, he noticed rat statues. Water poured out from the pipes. He hadn't expected to find such a magnificent place beneath the gourmet district. It didn't look like a sewer at all. Then, a scent reached him. He suspected the sweet smell was coming from the water. He considered moving forward but hesitated. It was still a sewer after all. Reyna soon arrived in full gear and noticed he wasn't ready yet. At that moment, our MC came up with an idea. He asked her to lend him her serpent so he could get past the obstacle. She agreed on the condition that he stop acting creepy. She commanded the serpent to transform. It coiled itself tightly around his legs. The finished product turned out to be a diving suit. She urged him to hurry, saying she didn't want to linger in that place any longer. He plunged into the water. What he saw left him stunned. Inside a cage was a strange creature. As he drew closer, he realized it resembled a heart. Curiosity gnawed at him. Whose heart was it, and why was it here? Then he noticed a rat nearby. The heart twisted into a grin. It opened a wide mouth, snatched the rat with its tongue, and swallowed it whole. Blood smeared across its jagged teeth. Hertz had witnessed its feeding, but then he sensed something unusual. The creature opened its mouth again and inhaled an entire school of fish. All of them streamed directly into its gaping maw. It gulped them down, and then it burped. Afterward, its body tightened. A single drop of blood was released. Hertz was puzzled. The drop didn't dissolve in the water. He considered bringing it back for analysis. He tried to catch it in a bottle, but instead it floated away. Reyna was startled when it suddenly emerged from the water. Out of nowhere, bats swarmed and began acting erratically. Numerous of them lunged at her. Bubbles rose from the water. Just as Hertz burst out and came to her rescue, he leapt to a different spot, then quickly asked if she was all right. She released her transformation. At once, she raised a barrier. It was just in time. The bats were diving at them again. Her serpents lashed out, striking back at the swarm. She told Hertz to leave the defense to her while he attacked with everything he had. He nodded and promised to finish it quickly. Then he noticed something unusual. The bats were going after the blood. One of them devoured it. Its wings thickened, It grew in size and began consuming the other bats. Rihanna was baffled by what was happening. They watched as the bat rammed into the others, devouring them one by one. Then it landed heavily on the statue, its gaze fixed on them next. Rihanna panicked when she saw how massive it had become. Hertz speculated it was either mutating by eating its own kind, or it was the blood's influence. He warned her not to lower her guard. Stepping out of the barrier, he caught its claws with his bare hands. He wanted to test just how much stronger it had become after consuming that blood. The bat slammed against the wall, and then collapsed to the ground. Hertz went to it. Finding it barely conscious, it trembled under a murderous aura as Hertz glared down at it. He stretched out his hand and tore the bat's wings apart. With that done, they prepared to leave. Rihanna asked if he had discovered anything. He told her about the massive heart imprisoned in an iron cage beneath the water, and how the blood it released was what turned the bats ferocious. He also remarked that the giant bat from earlier seemed weak, much like the ones in Hardy's arena, large but hollow inside. For a moment, he considered taking the heart and embarking on a journey, but Rihanna suggested leaving the matter to the chairman. The thought of pushing more work onto their master made Hertz smile. Exploring the world's most remote regions and encountering every rare dream beast, that was his dream. He couldn't help but think again of seizing the heart. They ventured deeper into the sewer. He dipped his foot into the water. Then, someone appeared. Hertz thought their luck had run out. If the heart were taken, the entire plan would fall apart. The figure before him asked if he could simply pretend not to have seen anything and walk away. If not, it threatened to kill him. But Rihanna shot back, saying it wouldn't matter, because sooner or later, the truth would be uncovered. The creature paused for a second, then answered coldly, saying they would die there instead. Hertz was stunned. It could talk. Rihanna explained that it was a chase rat. He found it hard to believe a dream beast could speak. She clarified that it was only because of hypnosis. Rats, she added, were especially easy to manipulate that way. From its behavior, she could tell it was standing guard. Hertz quickly realized its duty was to protect the heart. He demanded to know what that heart truly was. By then, the chase rat had finished warming up. It was ready to kill them. Hertz didn't flinch. To him, it was still just a rat. He went on the offensive. He threw a punch. The rat extended its hand. Its claws slashed at him. The blow sent him flying back the way he had come. He was shocked at its speed. Rihanna explained that hypnosis amplified both its strength and swiftness, but the technique came at a cost. It burned through its lifespan as it fought. She advised dragging the fight out. That way, its body would eventually collapse on its own. The chase rat smirked, impressed by her knowledge of such a lesser dream beast. Hertz declared he didn't need to wait. He could bring it down before its body gave in. His steps grew heavier. He charged forward, but suddenly his path was blocked. He fixed a glare on the creature. He shattered the stones in front of him. Then, with a swift kick, he sent the chase rat flying to the opposite side. He was already anticipating where it would land. The chase rat, impressed, noted how quickly Hertz had crafted a strategy in the heat of battle. Hertz declared that while they could drag things out and win eventually, staying on the defensive wasn't his style. The chase rat countered that ending the fight quickly was impossible, but Hertz retorted that whether the battle was long or short, the outcome would be the same. The chase rat would lose. He lunged forward, but the rat darted sideways in a blur. It crossed over to the other side of the sewer water. Hertz taunted it, trying to draw it down into a direct clash. But the rat knew better. Testing raw strength wouldn't work. It considered other ways to kill him. It stretched out its hand. The water began to swirl. A thick mist spread across the area. Hertz demanded to know what it was. The chase rat revealed it to be emerald viper venom. A single breath of it would render him unconscious. Just one drop could wipe out every living thing in the sewer. It mocked him, saying he should have surrendered quietly. Now he was only struggling in vain. Hertz realized how dire the situation was. His strength was slipping away. Rihanna shouted for him to hang on. Then she landed beside him, holding a fucking rice cooker. She switched it on and told him to leave the rest to her. The rice cooker sucked the shit out of the venom. Hertz felt his strength return completely. That air purifier, crafted with serpent parts, worked flawlessly. Rihanna proudly declared that she could create anything so long as her knowledge allowed. He called her a genius, though she admitted that in situations beyond her control, her creations were nothing more than decoration. She left the rest to him. Hertz turned his eyes upward, spotting the chase rat perched on the pipes. He gathered air at his foot. Then he kicked. sending a surge of water crashing toward the chase rat. But the rat conjured a poison shield. The attack was stopped coldly. Hertz realized it had condensed poison with dream power to forge that shield. It was no ordinary technique. He demanded to know who it really was. The chase rat, impressed by his sharp eye, admitted it hadn't expected him to notice so much. But, it said, none of that mattered. He would still die. The atmospheric poison levels had risen beyond purification. A warning blared from the purifier and asked them to evacuate immediately. Rihanna confessed she had reached her limit. She urged him to be cautious. The chase rat unleashed more venom. It condensed the toxin into a sphere. Hertz stepped back. The deadly orb was only a few inches away. Our MC lashed out with a kick to divert it before it reached him. The venom ball detonated against the ceiling. Using that much dream power must have placed tremendous strain on its body. Rihanna wondered aloud if the rat could really endure. But the chase rat didn't care. It saw itself as disposable anyway. As long as it could kill them, that was enough. Hertz admitted that at this rate, they might as well forget about the heart. They'd be the ones to die first. Then Rihanna caught the scent of poison. Something clicked in her mind. She ordered him to dash toward the exit. He hoisted her onto his shoulders and asked if they'd even make it out alive. He sprinted with everything he had. To aid him, she transformed the serpent into a lighter. Then she sparked it. He demanded to know what she was planning. Her lips curled into a grin. It's art. An instant later, the space behind them erupted. The firestorm was massive. The explosion hurled them forward. Hertz hit the ground face first while Rihanna descended gracefully, her umbrella opening like a parachute. She explained that she had noticed the poison gas contained explosive elements. In an enclosed space, a single flame would set it off, just as she predicted. Fortunately, she had transformed a serpent into a fireproof umbrella. Without it, she would have been scorched. Hertz groaned, complaining that she hadn't even considered whether he'd survive. She retorted that there was no time for that. Besides, with his dream power being grade 2, he wasn't going to die so easily. He pointed out instead that she had just blown up the entire sewer. At that moment, Biss appeared, reminding them that they had already caused 3 explosion accidents in the town in just 2 days. Hertz told Biss that he should be grateful because they had uncovered something incredible. Meanwhile, in a distant room, a woman sat idly before a chessboard. She looked utterly bored. Then, one of the black pieces suddenly cracked. This woman, Leonia, was informed that the rat in the sewers had been killed. A silhouette emerged, remarking that someone must have discovered the truth, which meant the Gourmet District's guard unit wasn't as incompetent as they thought. A maid stepped in and asked if they should retrieve the nightmare heart, but the man dismissed the idea, saying it was unnecessary. It seemed to be destroyed already, and as long as their plan moved forward, there was no need to recover it. He added that he was expecting something else to occur soon, in another place. Snacks were being served, balanced carefully on the back of a tortoise. They were for Hertz. He dug in immediately. Rihanna mentioned that she had contacted the boss and that Hertz should speak with him later. Proudly, she reminded him that she had cooked the food, so he should slow down and enjoy it. If it wasn't enough, she would make more. But he protested, saying he didn't have the luxury of eating slowly. Then she asked about his injuries, at the guard unit. This was where they were staying for the moment. Hertz showed his back. Rihanna noticed that his wounds had already healed. He continued to rest. Then, a screen lit up. A man appeared and asked if their mission in the Gourmet District was going smoothly. Hertz grumbled, complaining that the man had dumped such a troublesome task on him. He went on to explain what had happened in the underground waterways. Since the chase rat had pushed him so far, demonstrated perfect remote control over dream power and displayed such strength, Hertz suspected their opponent was no ordinary young beast. He asked the man if he knew about the Dark Abyss. The man replied no, then asked if it was connected to the mission. This man, Forsus, explained that there had once been people who would stop at nothing to seize dream beasts. Those scum slaughtered them without restraint. They sold rare dream beast meat, fur, and bones. Because of their greed, at least 117 species of rare dream beasts had gone extinct. At that rate, the future of dream beast resources would have been doomed. So, 100 years ago, the Federation boss at the time ordered him to lead warriors and crush the Dark Abyss. Hertz was stunned. If that was 100 years ago, just how old was Forsus now? Forsus, however, grew irritated and told him not to interrupt the story. He continued, saying the recent events felt eerily similar to the Dark Abyss. They had annihilated the Dark Abyss in that battle, but their leader had escaped. To this day, His whereabouts remained unknown. That brutal method of directly obtaining and exploiting dream beasts made him suspect the dark abyss had returned. Hertz let out a burp. He rubbed his stomach, which turned into an airport, by the way, saying he was full. Hertz concluded, explaining that even if the dark abyss had resurfaced, finding them would be difficult if they chose to remain hidden. Forsyth wasn't certain, but he knew the matter was worth investigating. He also knew Hertz had his eyes on the dream beast realm. Then, our MC asked if Forsyth truly wanted him to go. He answered yes. That response made the two of them visibly shocked. The dream beast realm lay at a volcanic lake, 1,500 meters above sea level. Within it lived dream beasts so rare that even among rare species, they stood apart. They projected themselves there virtually and saw a 6-winged crystal crab. Its glittering body was covered in jewels, and 6 wings stretched from its sides. Its meat was said to be incredibly fresh, while soup brewed from its jeweled shell was exquisite. Drinking it not only enhanced physical abilities, but could even extend one's lifespan. Yet this creature only molted once every 100 years, and this month marked that rare molting period. If the dark abyss had indeed returned, there was no way they would miss such an opportunity. Hertz, drooling, shouted that he wanted to eat it. Rihanna smacked him, telling him to control himself. Forsyth asked if they would accept the mission. Hertz eagerly agreed, saying he could be trusted with it. Rihanna, however, already sensed how troublesome it would be. When they finally arrived, Hertz was panting hard. He hauled himself up a steep mountain with a massive box strapped to his back. The rock he clung to came loose. He slipped, sliding down the slope. From inside the box, Rihanna screamed at him to climb properly. He shot back that he had already told her not to come. The dream beast realm was far more dangerous than the human realm, but she had insisted, because in her eyes, he was a muscle-brained fool with no sense. Without her, she argued, he wouldn't even know how to preserve the 6-winged crystal crab's shell, and despite her complaints, he needed her power. By now, though, exhaustion was written all over him. It was clear they weren't welcome. A glutton bird, a dangerous dream beast, hovered menacingly above them. Rihanna quickly identified it as a medium-level threat, strong enough that in the human realm it could even become a ruler. Their luck couldn't have been worse running into such a creature right after arriving. The bird struck first. She summoned her serpent. It transformed into a long whip. The whip lashed out, coiling tightly around the glutton bird. With a sharp pull, she dragged it down. It slammed into the ground with a heavy crash. Then Hertz stepped in. He struck a rock beside them. The boulder toppled. It came crashing down on the bird. The impact knocked it out cold. Both of them wore devilish grins as their eyes turned to the remaining prey. The glutton birds flew away crying. Rihanna felt relieved that they finally left. Hertz told her they should keep climbing. But then another bird appeared above them. Rihanna realized it was the boss. She knew this was trouble. She suggested going back to the human realm instead. Hertz disagreed. They were already halfway up, and he had a plan. The bird let out a loud shriek. Then it went straight for them. Just as it was about to grab them, Hertz let go. They fell. The bird pulled its claws out of the rocks. Hertz managed to grab its feathers. He was ready to act. They were now hanging on its side. Another glutton bird came toward them. With a devilish grin, he greeted it. Then he kicked it away, saying it wasn't welcome. The bird was knocked down. He climbed up to the top of the boss bird. He called Rihanna and told her to hold on tight. He grabbed a couple of the bird's feathers. Then he pulled hard, making the bird cry out in pain. It shrieked loudly, and it flew higher. Now it was under his control. He was actually enjoying it as he got used to riding it. The bird grew restless and tried to shake them off. Meanwhile, Rihanna was scared inside the box because it was shaking so much. Eventually, Hertz tried to calm the bird down by hitting its head. Now, it had a large bump on its head. Our MC reassured Rihanna, saying the bird was tamed and everything was fine, and they flew smoothly. The dream beasts were scattered in the vast fields. They continued to fly. The glutton bird did its job, while they enjoyed the scenery. They headed to the top of the volcano, and eventually landed. They got off safely. Rihanna asked why the glutton bird had stopped. He explained that it was too scared to go on. Apparently there's something incredible up there, but they were close enough so it was fine. He reminded the bird not to attack climbers on the cliff, randomly, because only people with guts came to the dream beast realm. Then the dream beast flew away. They knew that it was the kind that would cause a huge commotion in the human realm. But if it got scared, then the creature in there must have been really dangerous. Despite that, Hertz looked forward to the six-winged crystal. Rihanna punched him to knock some sense into him and remind him that their purpose is to gather information and not to eat nor fight. She claims that he's really a musclehead. She told him that the six-winged crystal occupies the volcanic lake, but it's not violent and just eats small fish and shrimp. It won't move from the bottom of the lake. That's why everyone came to think of the six-winged crystal crab as just a jewel. People noticed it, but if it doesn't move, they wouldn't really know that it's a giant crab. So she concluded that the glutton bird felt fear, but it wasn't because of the six-winged crystal crab. Hertz replied that whatever it was, he's ready to check it, in the forest. The two kept walking. They scanned their surroundings, but Rihanna failed to notice the pile of poop and stepped right on it. She grimaced in disgust while Hertz laughed and teased her. Suddenly, a low growl echoed around them. Its source had locked onto them. Hertz immediately sensed the danger. A black aura grew closer. A monster examined its territory. It was a high-level threat, a beginner-class dream beast known as the stub tiger. The beast continued moving until it spotted an intruder in its jungle. The two of them stood their ground. Hertz raised his voice and challenged it to a fight. Their eyes met, predator and man locked in a tense stare. But then, without warning, the stub tiger collapsed. When they went closer, they saw its body battered and broken. Rihanna frowned, wondering who could have done this. Covered in lacerations, the creature had no hope left. Rihanna speculated that it had dragged itself that far using only muscle contractions, until sheer fear of Hertz finished it off. Those wounds, they realized, had been inflicted by six-winged crystal crabs. Hertz frowned. He thought they were supposed to be peaceful dream beasts. Rihanna was just as puzzled. Then, once again, a thunderous noise echoed through the area. Rihanna guessed the six-winged crystal crab must be rampaging. They followed the sound toward a massive crater. Bones were scattered all around it, and what they saw stunned them. The six-winged crystal crab loomed before them. It had devoured every dream beast around the lake. Rihanna wondered aloud what kind of stomach it could possibly have. They realized it had to be defeated and taken back. If not, the entire ecosystem in the area would be wiped out. Hertz stepped forward. He struck its shell and immediately sensed something was wrong. There was no response. That made them question where the real body was. What they were looking at was only a discarded, molten shell. This was supposed to be the creature's weakest state. Rihanna concluded that the crab must be resting at the bottom of the lake. She suggested they search later, after she prepared him food. She pulled out a knife and began chopping at the crystal. When properly removed, the jewels of the six-winged crystal crab could be cooked into a rich, flavorful soup. But very few people knew that secret. What she made wasn't perfect. Still, she handed it to him. Hertz's eyes lit up. He was eager to taste it. Rihanna proudly declared that it was a dish only the most skilled cooks could prepare. This was the true ultimate crab soup. He was so excited that he couldn't even wait. But in their distraction, neither of them noticed the water level rising. Just as he started drinking the soup, a wave surged. It crashed over them, soaking them both. The water spread rapidly. Hertz grew tense. The six-winged crystal crab began to shimmer. Then it emerged, towering over them. They were stunned by its sheer size. Without hesitation, it lunged to attack. Hertz shoved Rihanna aside as the claw came down. The massive pincer swung toward him. He ducked at the last second, narrowly avoiding the blow. But he couldn't understand. Why was it only targeting him? Rihanna realized the truth. It was after the soup he held. Hertz demanded to know why, since the soup was only made from a discarded shell. The crab struck again, its claws slicing through the air. This time, it landed a hit on Hertz. Rihanna's chest tightened with worry. Something about its behavior felt wrong. Praying that Hertz was still safe, she slipped behind a tree, trying to think of what to do next. Hertz got eaten. When he's back to his senses, he was glad that the soup didn't spill. He looked around and found himself inside the discarded shell, but he could tell something was off. Surprisingly, the eye of the crab appeared. Then it tried to catch him with its claw through the narrow hole. He teased it that it can't reach him. But then he noticed that it had been careful when it could just crush the shell. It made him think that something was inside, so he decided to take a look. His eyes widened at what he saw. There was an egg. It was spawning season, so it was no wonder that it was violent. He gazed at the beautiful egg, awestruck by the thought that six-winged crystal crabs would one day be born from it. Then he sensed something. He placed his hand on it and closed his eyes. He got connected to the six-winged crystal crab. It conveyed that it felt a kinship with him, and that it was afraid of the outside world. He asked if there was a scary presence outside. Meanwhile, the six-winged crystal crab stood near its discarded shell while a rat spied on them. The rat was amazed and thought that if it brought that back, the boss would be pleased. Rihanna watched from a distance, too. She was spooked when there's suddenly a splash in the water. He checked what it was. Then she saw the rat. It magnetized the six-winged crystal crab. The six-winged crystal crab moved towards it. The rat eventually got it. Rihanna couldn't believe that it did that to a six-winged crystal crab of that size. Then, the rat destroyed its shell. Obviously, the crab was in pain. Then it took some of the jewels. The rat knew that the jewel was used to become the legendary soup, but it directly ate it. Before it dropped on its mouth, something sucked the jewel. Rihanna did that. She didn't want to give the jewel to that rat. The rat was annoyed because it didn't have time to deal with her. It asked if she wanted to die that badly. Then it attacked her. She called Hertz to come out quickly while she braced herself. Suddenly something shoots out of the shell. Then it grabbed the rat's hand. It was Hertz. He fulfilled his promise of not letting anyone hurt his partner. He then threw the rat away. It was able to stop itself from rolling away and commended the boy for its move. Then Hertz called the crab and threw back the jewel. The crab caught it. Hertz told the crab to stop attacking him, and their common enemy was the rat. The crab moved to his side and faced the rat. The rat told them that they couldn't beat him easily. Hertz asked if it was Dark Abyss. His master expected that they would come. So he asked for their purpose for going to the gourmet district. The rat asked if that idiot Leonia was found. But it wasn't threatened. And now that Hertz found out about it, it couldn't let him live. Hertz complained how he's sick of rats already. It's pointless to ask anything from a disposable body, and it was too big for a rat anyway. The rat jumped higher towards the cliff. Then it gathered dark condensed energy as a gift to them so they can't escape. The dark energy formed a net. It would wrap around them and keep shrinking until they die. It was useless for them to run. It asked for their last words. Hertz rushed towards it to stop it. He tried to punch the rat, but it dodged. Then he was whipped by its tail. He counterattacked by kicking it, but it failed. The rat jumped backwards and kept a distance. It praised him for its movement because it has been a while since it met a human who can trade blows with it in close combat. He replied that he fought rats before and they weren't strong, but with its large body now, it can fully utilize its technique, but it would ruin its body. The rat laughed out loud. It admitted that he's correct, but also shared that the body was coordinated with great care so it can withstand 1% of its full power. Our MC was surprised when it disappeared, and suddenly, it was approaching him. He was still able to block its attack, but then to his surprise, it appeared behind him. It was incredibly fast. He didn't have time to dodge the kick from behind. He was pushed forward but eventually landed on his foot. Then the rat activated its evil net. Hertz's hand got caught in it. He cursed out loud. Rihanna came running to him. The rat pointed out the difference in their strength and how he doesn't have a way to counter its attack. The rat concluded that the match had been decided. Then it turned its attention to the main dish, the crab. But Hertz grabbed its foot to stop it. The rat asked him if he wanted to be killed that badly, but he wouldn't just let this rat go. He used his power. The rat sensed the dream power to stoke fear. It figured out that he was trying to collapse the evil net. It was a great idea. If he had lived, he might have become a strong person like them with talent. But it was unfortunate for him because he'll die. The rat didn't expect that he would grab its arm. And then he mounted the rat from behind, restraining its body. He knew he couldn't win using power and speed, but with that distance between them, he could deliver his finishing move. Back then, Hertz used to train under a waterfall with a giant boulder on his back. He would throw the boulder on the water and released punches in the water continuously. He also practiced his kick too. He kicked the waterfall over and over. And then he would go back to dry land. His master praised him for being strong in the span of 10 years. He was hopeful that he'd be allowed to go to the Dream Beast realm after reaching that strength, but his master told him that there's no way he could go with just that level. So his master taught him a technique to protect his life in the Dream Beast realm. He asked what that was. His master told him to follow, then went to the cage of a giant wart boar. This Dream Beast was classified in medium danger level. Hertz was shocked that he wanted him to defeat that, but his master clarified that he won't attack. Instead, he would keep dodging the attacks using the handrail. It made him confused. The door opened. Hertz was grabbed by the hood of his shirt and was thrown inside. He got annoyed by the old man and asked if he's trying to kill him. Forces replied that dream beast bodies were bigger than theirs, so if he encountered one outdoors and he can't win or escape, there's only one way to survive, and it was to choke hold. A chokehold is a way of holding someone's neck to stop air or blood flow. Ain't no way he could do that to this big-ass gorilla. Forces told him that he can't learn methods to nullify enemy attack power without rotating the cage. He asked what he meant by that. He was confused when Forces approached the cage and lifted it. Then he instructed him to hold tight to the handrail, then dodge the dream beast's attacks. Hertz was hit. He screamed at the old man that he won't ever forgive him, so at the present moment. The rat was amused that he used a chokehold, but it thinks that he couldn't really seal his movements with something like that. It scoffed. It made some mist come out of the ground. Then it told him that his bones would be crushed to powder. He replied that the chokehold technique that he learned from his master is a technique to break an enemy's attacks, but he added a little improvement to it, because he liked to be on the offense. The rat asked what he's trying to do. He lifted it for a super big rotation. It was a match of stubbornness. They crashed near the crab. Rihanna was near them, when suddenly they moved at a lightning speed. They kept at it until it reached sunset. They continued to move at lightning speed. Rihanna was starting to worry about where he was. The golden rays of sun shone on the whole area. Rihanna hid behind a tree, while Hertz was still holding on to the rat. The rat was already annoyed and Hertz was reaching his limit. Rihanna came out because just as she expected, her power was needed at that time. She praised Hertz for doing well. Then she fired. The rat knew it was a bad situation. It was followed by a huge explosion. Naturally, Hertz got caught in it and he ended up in bandages. Rihanna called him an idiot for being reckless to the point that he almost died. They had no medicine, so he had to endure. They need to have him heal quickly, so she suggested returning to the gourmet district. But she saw the crab approaching him. She froze. She thought they were doomed, but she noticed it acting strange. Then she realized that it must have been telling them to follow. She yelled at it to wait. She carried Hertz as she followed the crab. Then she asked where they were. She entered a cave, and she was surprised how beautiful it was inside. There were several eggs of different sizes too. One started to crack. Eventually, it hatched. The crisis of the remaining one species has been avoided. It was so beautiful, but Hertz was at his limit too. He realized that he had been seriously injured. Rihanna then noticed that our MC's heartbeat was getting weaker. A baby crab unexpectedly approached his unconscious body. It went up to his chest and made his body shoot golden light. She was surprised to learn that the crystal crab's jewels have a healing effect. It was such a great discovery. It was at a level where one could carve their name in the history of dream beast studies. Slowly, Hertz opened his eyes. He was surprised. He immediately stood up and rejoiced that power was surging through his whole body and his body felt so light. He goofed around as he celebrated his body feeling light. The small crab jumped to his shoulder and cuddled on his neck. He felt ticklish. Then he asked if it was the crab that helped him. He thanked me and explained that he had to go back because his master was waiting. They said goodbye to the crab. The small one returned to the side of the big one. The big crab extended its claws. It gave them a piece of the shell. He tied strings around it to carry it. He thanked the crab and promised that he'll come back to see it again. They made their way out of the cave. It was such a big shell, so Rihanna had started imagining how delicious it could be. Her daydreaming made her bump into it when Hertz suddenly stopped. She asked him what was wrong. They immediately recognized the outer area boss, an iron mammoth. It has a high danger level. They hid behind the bushes when it passed by. They watched it walk away, towards the gourmet district. It made them curious what business it has there. Regular people can only defeat up to medium danger level. Something with such high-level danger could only be defeated by the military. The gourmet district doesn't have enough forces to defeat that thing. Rihanna knew that it was a dream beast that sleeps in caves, so the situation doesn't look good. She wondered how they could contract the gourmet district. Hertz thinks that something must have happened in the gourmet district for the iron mammoth to wake up. He told her to contact Biss while he stalls that thing. He told her to be careful. She started running as fast as she could. She called her serpent and made it transform. She used a parakeet to travel. Meanwhile, Hertz stretches his body as he prepares to fight. He leapt and blocked the path of the iron mammoth. He told the big guy not to hurry since it just woke up. Meanwhile, in the town's walls, 3 men were standing there, and they noticed something on the outside of the walls. There were cheat monkeys. It was a mid-danger level dream beasts. They fired at it. The cheat monkey skillfully evaded the attacks. It started climbing the walls like it was going berserk. It was a cunning beast. When it senses danger, it attacks beings weaker than itself. One of them asked if it meant that they're weak. The Gourmet District was the largest entertainment district in the human realm. It has enough forces to defeat high danger level dream beasts. It was quite something that they managed to break into such a place. One of them speculated that it must have encountered something more terrifying. They had a bad feeling about it. At the same time, in a restaurant, a plate shattered. It caught the attention of other diners. One of them expressed that he's full because everything in the Gourmet District was delicious. But he crushed the glass in his hands while announcing that the Gourmet District's history would end there, and it was time for them to begin. He was about to walk out. A purple-haired woman saw him, and she activated her skill, called Dance Activation Pollen. The pollen spread throughout the district. A man was affected by it. His body emitted fire. Suddenly, someone made his way through the staircase. It was a long ascend. When he reached the top, he immediately reported to the chief that something terrible was happening in the Gourmet District. He told him to come see the situation quickly, because citizens were rampaging throughout the city. Biss called his Tempest Tiger. He ordered it to drag down all dream beasts that climbed the wall while he checked inside the castle. He gripped his sword tightly. It made him wonder what was happening in the Gourmet District. A man ran as fast as he could, but he didn't look like he's okay. He then saw a woman in the alleyway. He grabbed a tin can and was about to hit her, but someone intervened. It was Biss. He struck the man that looked like a zombie. Biss lectured him that it's not good to raise a hand to the woman you love. Then he told the woman that he'd clean the place, so she better hurry to a safe place. The woman thanked him. Guards scattered on the streets. Biss watched the interactions between the civilians. Then he got a waft of a scent. It was such a sweet smell, and it made him think that it's what's causing the citizens to rampage. But it was a puzzle why he's unaffected. He also got curious on who the culprit was. Suddenly he heard a static sound. It came from the Gourmet District Plaza. A screen flashed a blue-haired man. He asked everyone if they were surprised. He stated that there might be demons sleeping in the hearts of people close to them. He questioned why they had to hide those demons. He stated one hardship of the people, like working from morning to night, and the salary they would get was a pittance. And to survive, they had no choice but to endure the boss's abuse. And no matter how desperately they worked, they were exploited by the guild. And their labor was exploited, their freedom was taken, and they had become slaves. And the underground arena, back alley casinos, women, and nightclubs steeped in desire. It was a luxurious life built on everyone's labor. He stated that there's no such thing as a gourmet district. There, the rich could do whatever they wanted. The big question was, why aren't the people resisting? If it was because they had no power, he promised to give them power. He told them that he could be found in the finest gourmet building in the gourmet district, and if they went there, he'll grant him power. And to prove that, he'll show them a new world. He demonstrated his power. A lot of people paid attention. He released the beam, and it hit the building. Then the building disappeared. The crowd exclaimed that it's not even a human's power. The man announced that it was the power that he's trying to grant them. But there's a condition, and that was to release the demon inside their heart. He told them again that he's on the rooftop of the gourmet building. And his offer was first come, first served, limited to 30 people only, and the time limit was 3 hours. If no one comes, he'll leave. He tempted them by saying that the chance to change their life doesn't just lie around. The people started running. They competed against each other. The guard unit alone wouldn't be able to handle that chaos. Biss knew that if they're going to strike, they would start from the head, and that is to kill Leonia. He had to end the chaos, so he started moving. The blue-haired man watched them from the rooftop. It was the beginning of their game. Then he went inside. He lounged there with Leonia and 2 more women, with a wine glass in his hands. He inspected the drink and the bottle. Eventually, he slammed the table and scolded Sophia since he told her many times that she mustn't shake a 4-year-old wine. It would be a waste if it becomes sour. The purple-haired woman expressed that Leonia's speech was wonderful and it got everyone fired up. He asked her why she believed that, then told her that there's no such thing as fairness in the world. But everyone believes that they're the protagonist and that someday their day to soar will come. But everything that can be easily given already has a price tag. She asked him if he wouldn't give them power. He would, but there is a price to pay. She wasn't interested in knowing what it was. Suddenly, the door bursts open. It was time for him to work since their first guest had arrived. Meanwhile, in the Dream Beast realm cliff, Hurt saw the building disappear. It made him curious about what was happening. Then something caught his attention. Suddenly, the iron mammoth was already behind him. It then attacked him. He crashed face down on the ground. His new opponent was tough too. The tusk of the iron mammoth wrapped around him and lifted him in the air. He asked this big guy if it plans to have a contest of strength with him. He inhaled deeply and tried to loosen the grip of the tusk. Then he boasted that he was stronger. The iron mammoth got annoyed. It stomped its foot and created a pit on the ground. After that, it raised Hertz in the air. Hertz tried to stop it, but it threw him, and he fell straight to the pit. The impact was so strong that he passed through the opposite end, and he fell from the cliff. Who's stronger now, huh? Meanwhile, in the gourmet district. It was chaotic outside the walls with the dream beasts trying to get in. A brown-haired man delegated the task, but one of his subordinates pointed above. Rihanna was coming through. She landed on top of the wall. The subordinate asked who she was. The captain knew her but was curious why she came from the sky. She reported that the Iron Mammoth, the ruler of the Dream Beast realm outskirts, had awakened and Hertz sent her to inform them. It made sense now why the Dream Beasts are rampaging. She looked for Biss because they need traps for Iron Mammoths. The captain explained that a riot had broken out in the Gourmet district, so Biss had gone to handle that. Rihanna wasn't happy with the timing. She understood, so she decided that she'd just take some people and head to support Biss while the captain and his team set traps for the Iron Mammoth. The captain told her to leave it to them, and then she left. Rihanna started to get worried. A bird-like dream beast flew around the district, and it breathes fire. The citizens in the open ducked, but they all wondered why the dream beasts of that rank were coming to town. The man then saw a manhole, and was surprised when a dream beast Doe's Alligate's intermediate class with medium danger level appeared. Just in time, Rihanna released her serpent, and the serpent wrapped itself around the monster's snout. Then, she prepared a humongous hammer and hit it using that. It was like she's playing whack-a-mole. She told the guard to leave it to her while he goes to rescue the citizens. She stomped on the unconscious dream beast. She looked around while wondering what Biss was doing when such dangerous dream beasts roamed around the Gourmet district. Back in the dream beast realm, Hertz was hanging on a tree. Good thing it was there. He really thought he was going to die. As he dangled there, he kept thinking of what he should do. But to his surprise, the tusk of the Iron Mammoth appeared. He grabbed onto it, then it threw him in the air again. He was glad that it came after him. He wanted to get back to the Gourmet district immediately. It made him wonder if Rihanna arrived safely. The Iron Mammoth was being really persistent, and he thinks that the military in the Gourmet district would settle it. He started taunting it, then he started running. He passes through the bushes, then jumped on the branches. He couldn't believe that it was that fast given its size. It chased after him, but he couldn't let it catch up to him. He knew he needed to do something. He saw something in front, and he thought of an idea. He grabbed a vine and crossed the cliff. Then he slid down. He still had the moment to appreciate the view. Our MC landed safely on the other side. He expected it not to catch up anymore, but it just got even more furious. It gathered strength on its legs, then it jumped, and it was able to cross the cliff too. He Tarzan the shit out of his way to escape. Meanwhile, the army stopped digging. They stopped when they saw the trap was perfect, and all they had to do was wait for the Iron Mammoth to come. They really wanted to get it over quickly because the Dream Beast realm was terrifying. One might never know when or what kind of ferocious dream beast would show up. A guard saw something coming. It was Hertz. He graded his landing 990 points. The guard awkwardly asked him who he was. He introduced himself and informed them that he was the one who gave Rihanna the instructions. He asked if the trap was ready. They informed him that the traps were right under his feet. At that moment, he fell. They asked if he's alive. There was a puddle underneath him. The guards told him not to move because that was an iron box. They knew the Iron Mammoth wouldn't fall for traps like that. They also told him that there's a ton of traps set up, so if he moves, they'll activate. The slime wasn't poisonous, though, just sticky glue. He asked how he's going to get out. The guard threw him a rope. He grabbed onto it. They pulled him up. He reached the top and made it out. He apologized since he didn't expect a trap on the landing spot. Then they heard a sound. It terrified him. The Iron Mammoth had arrived. They all turned pale. He tried to tell it to wait, but it was furious. Its eyes were locked onto him. It jumped towards our MC, but it was caught off guard. The ground had shattered. Hertz's eyes bulged out from the impact. The ground where the Iron Mammoth stood started cracking. It completely caved in, and it fell inside. The guards could say that they had completed the mission. They approached the pit. All kinds of sounds were mixed together, and they got intrigued by what kind of mechanisms there were. They called out to Hertz if he's still alive. The pit was covered in dust. Hertz grabbed on the iron mammoth. He yelled at it not to move. He braced himself. Then the iron mammoth landed. The chains were activated. It wrapped around its legs until the chains were locked. It restrained the iron mammoth. It tried to move its feet. Then Hertz realized that hypnotic gas was released. It was certainly effective against mammoths, but he's also trapped there. The mammoth fell. He was surprised with the sudden movement. Eventually, it was knocked unconscious. Or, better yet, in a deep sleep. The guards told him that they'll throw him a rope in a bit. Hertz then told them to jump if there's a gap. They lowered the rope. He replied that it was useful. But suddenly, the iron mammoth moved. He was almost out of balance. He realized it was playing dead. He immediately jumped. He was high enough when it rose. So he was able to reach the rope. The guards were relieved that he made it out safely. He thanked them and asked how things are in the gourmet district. The guard informed him that when they came out, it was chaotic inside too, but they didn't know the full details. He expects Rihanna to be back already, and if Biss was there shouldn't be any problem. But he's still worried, so he decided to go back. The guards wondered if they should head back too. He arrived at the gates and found it wide open. He wondered what happened. Then he sensed something behind him. Of course, the surprise attack didn't work on him. He caught the bird and kicked it. It hit a wall. He wondered why dream beasts were inside the castle. Then he heard something. It was Riena's voice. He rushed towards a high building and searched the area for her. He went around looking for her until an explosion happened. He immediately ran towards it. Then he saw Riena being attacked by a dream beast that looked like a T-Rex. He told her that it's fine now. He kicked the dream beast. Then he turned his attention to her, who was actually falling from above. Hertz caught her before she hit the ground. They both landed safely. Riena was relieved. Then he noticed that she was soaked. She hit him in the head and scolded him for saying that in a way that could easily be misunderstood. After that, he asked about the situation. She told him that it was because of Leonia. He asked who it was. She also doesn't know, but if they go to the gourmet building, they'll be provided with incredible power. She pointed to a building to show the evidence. He couldn't believe that the building was destroyed in one hit. He knew that there were only a few people in the Federation that could do that. He asked where those people came from. She also had no idea, except that ever since that person appeared, dream beasts had been showing up in droves. The dream beast that he attacked was the last one that they found. She already contacted the Federation generals, but it would take them several more hours. He requested her to rescue the soldiers, while he goes to meet Leonia and find out what they're planning to do.
Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next Giga Chad video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.